Nation, what's happening? Thank you for tuning in for another amazing and great episode of the CardinOLL podcast. That's right, it's the one and only classroom podcast that has been designed to interview industry professionals, experts, and leaders so that we can gain their insight to help take your leadership and your learning to the next level immediately. You know, like I always do, let me start off with a great quote for today. Today's great quote is this: success comes from going from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. That quote was made by none other than former UK Prime Minister, the one and the only Winston Churchill. This month, join me on the CardinOLL podcast as I'm going to be interviewing some of what we deem as successful alumni. These are students who started, just like many of you, and completed their Bachelor of Science degree in Organizational Leadership and Learning from the one and the only, that's right, you see me repping it, the Cardinal Nation, the University of Louisville. So you know, like I always tell you, that's right, go get your notepads, go get your pens, your pencils, your tablets, your notebooks, whatever it is that you take notes with as we go and listen to this amazing guest as they give us some of golden nuggets, some of their golden nuggets of how they are leading and being successful in what they do. Buckle up and get ready. Join me as I head into the classroom with our amazing guest today. All right, Cardinal Nation. As you can see, we have one of our very own today, Tyler Wood. Tyler is an outstanding individual. He is an OLL alum. He's in the healthcare industry. He's a student ambassador, and he's on our advisory board for healthcare leadership. Tyler, how's it going today, my friend?
It's Friday, we made it through the week, so I'm doing good. Thanks for asking.
Hey, no problem, no problem. So, you know, we like to jump right in, both feet into the deep end of the pool. So here we go. Your number one question. We're come out firing right now. Tyler, how is it that you define leadership?
It's based on every individual. Everybody's got a different learning style, different leadership style that they tend to. For me, leadership is not only a role model, but somebody who listens, and then somebody who acts on what they're listening to. So not just hearing what people have to say, but listening to what they have to say. But at the same time, I like a hype man. You know, if I corner, he or she is fighting for me, and helping me excel and develop too. So somebody that's invested, but you got to be invested in yourself too. So I like a good mixture of that.
Man, listen, let me tell you something. I've done over 25 of these interviews and asked everyone for their definition of leadership. I promise you, no one has ever said you got to be a hype man. I love it. I love it.
At a former manager, different leadership style I was ever used to, and at first it was like, this is new. I don't know how I feel about that, but it pushed me to my complete potential. And I was like, okay, that's what I needed. But it's different. Everybody learns differently. Everybody's got that leadership or managerial style that they fit best with. But mine, I got to have a little bit of that hype man behind me.
I love it, man. Yes, I think if you could bring the juice a little bit, if you could bring some hype and some energy to the job every day, it does make the day go a little faster and a little easier, especially on those rough and tough days that, obviously we know we're all in jobs and careers that we hopefully love, but, bad days happen to every single one of us, man. So if you got a leader and a boss that can bring some excitement, I mean, it does make the day go a little better.
Most definitely. I agree.
And speaking of that, we kind of know that you need a hype man and you want them to listen. You mentioned a former boss, but in your opinion or in your experience and what you've come through, who do you think best exemplifies that definition of leadership? I mean, you don't have to list by name, but but if you want to, go ahead and give a shout out if you need.
Oh no! So my former boss is also an OLL alum, and yeah. So part of my question later, but no, definitely him. He Evan, former manager of mine and friend. He was that hype man. He was the guy in my corner that exemplified it most definitely. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity and development and coaching he provided to me. And then alongside that, one person I think of when I think of like true leadership and a servant leadership, humble leadership is my grandfather.
Hmm.
Passed away a couple Decembers ago, but again, I look to him when thinking about, when I move forward, and when somebody presents an opportunity to me to be in a leadership, whether it's direct or indirect, how am I going to cast that? So leading your team and being successful leading your team is being humble and helping them achieve success, and then eventually that will trickle back to you. And my granddad was all about that.
Got you. So if I want to summarize this correct, you got humility from your grandfather, but you got hypeness from Evan. So the
It's a,
two H's.
it's a weird mix, but it works.
That's all that matters, right? It's because it's so personal, right? It's about understanding. This kind of ties into our next question, but it is that it is a weird mix, and it's okay to be a weird mix. I can tell right now that what I'm saying, I can feel the energy, that you're exuding, right? So you're I can tell you're a hype man in your leadership position, and that's awesome. So in knowing that, what motivates you not only just to be great, but to be that hype man that some of the other people around you might need in life.
So motivational wise, like first and foremost, it's always going to be the people I have at home, and that's my wife and my daughter. Um, they are everything to me, and I wouldn't be where I would today if I wasn't motivated to do and be better for them and be the best that they need me to be at. I wouldn't be in the position or seek opportunities or do really anything without them. And in the workplace, it's a little bit different. It's I think it's just the act of knowing that you put forth your best effort.
Right.
You're not successful in what you do. You're going to have times where you do fail, but from failure you learn from success. And I think that if you have that and you understand that and you know how to take good feedback and you're coachable, that eventually I think will mold you and push you forward to what you want to do and what you want to be next.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you mentioned that you got to be hype and you got to listen. You mentioned humility. You mentioned what motivates you as your wife and your daughter. I think that's amazing. That family, what I call the home team, literally the home team, the team that's at home. She got to take care of. So if you put all that into a mixing bowl, and we were to say, "Hey, Tyler, what is your leadership style?" And you can make it up. It can be something that's already exists. Because you did mention servant leadership. What would that be once we get down the hype and the listening and the humility and the family features? What is Tyler as a leader, and how does he lead, and what is his style?
That's a good question, and it's almost a trick question because and everybody learns different. So I can't be laissez-faire. I can't go
Right.
in and be delegatory if that's not how people need me to be. In a leadership role, you have to be able to make decisions and you have to be able to know what type of leadership is going to move forward best for what you're trying to accomplish. But again, everybody learns differently and everybody likes to be led differently. So I think being a good leader and your leadership style depends on being able to read the room
Mm-hmm.
and the team that you're helping lead and understanding what they need. So I would say, today I could be laissez-faire. I could be a coach. I could be visionary. I mean, it really depends. Um, so my leadership style depends on the task I'm trying to achieve and the team I'm trying to lead.
Got you. And so let me ask you this: did you learn when you were going through the OLL program? Um, and you were in classes such as coaching and talent development and needs assessment and adult learning and diversity. All these things were coming up, and you were able to write about them. You were able to really observe your workplace environment. Did any of your natural leadership qualities come out in any of your writings or any of the processes you were going through, or was there an aha moment like this is what I needed to take my leadership to the next level while in the OLL program?
It's funny you mentioned that because I think I had a lot of mini epiphanies throughout the entire program. It was great. One big thing that I definitely learned during that process is I learned my worth.
Oh,
And I'll talk about that more when we talk about what drew me to U of L and during the program. But yeah, most definitely. Again, those types of leadership, unless I Googled it, I learned that from the OLL program. And again, being able to help read that room and understand how the team you're trying to lead needs to be led.
Mm-hmm.
Um, OLL program provided that to me. And so during a lot of my papers, I did. It was just like, maybe I've been doing this wrong. I've been trying to be this person and lead, whether again directly or indirectly. I had to stop and think. I remember there was one, even at my former career and former profession, I wasn't in a leadership role,
Mm-hmm.
but there was ways that I could lead, and I wasn't even aware of it. And I had that aha moment, like, I don't think that I've been doing this right. I think that we could be more successful. Maybe I played a different pivotal role in being a coach or a mentor. Um, and it, yeah, so that's just one example. I have plenty, but I learned a lot about myself during the whole program and writing a lot of those papers.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Tyler, 100%. I knew from a young age I wanted to be a college professor. But I also knew I had other interests too. But I think I needed all those like other interests to kind of take over to really feel like to really feel comfortable and be like, you know what? I think I'm just a really good teacher. So it doesn't matter if I'm coaching football, it doesn't matter if I'm coaching wrestling, it doesn't matter if I'm, volunteering at my church. Like I like teaching, I like the aspects of learning, and I like watching people like the light bulb go off in that aha moment, because I think for so long you think that you have to be a certain way to be a leader. Like I got to be aggressive and I got to be in your face and I have to tell you how it is. I got to show my type A personality. And I realized like I'm not even a type A personality person. You know what I mean? Like, I had the same epiphany. Like maybe I'm doing this wrong, and I just need to lean into my strengths and the things that I'm good at as a leader. I mean, I think that's awesome that you had that epiphany in the OLL program.
They do. But guess what? You don't have to be left outside in the cold. We want you to be a part of Cardinal Nation. If you have some college and no degree, the Bachelor of Science in Organizational Leadership and Learning right here at the University of Louisville is the degree for you. So if you want to learn to lead with compassion and expertise in an ever-changing world, if you want to learn to lead like never before and be a game changer in your industry and within your career, well, then you have to go check us out at UofL.me/BSOLL-podcast. That's right, UofL.me/BSOLL-podcast. Once you go onto that website, you're going to learn how you can save money through our PLA course. You're going to learn about our 9 degree tracks. And most importantly, you're going to be able to request information so that we can update you about everything that's going on at the University of Louisville and the OLL program. Again, check us out, UofL.me/BSOLL-podcast.
So transitioning just a little bit off of leadership, because obviously we know the podcast talks about leadership and learning. So we're going to transition just a little bit over to some learning. And so in your opinion, how do you think learning takes place on the individual and the group level, knowing that sometimes as a leader, you have to lead yourself first, but also sometimes you got to turn around and make sure the people behind you that you're leading as well?
Yeah, most definitely. And when I was thinking about that, again, going back, everybody learns at a different pace too. You have to really understand how somebody likes to learn and how they best learn. Because again, if you stick with your one teaching method or coaching method, three out of four people may get it, but that fourth person, they may not. They may not learn the best. So you've got to figure out a way to be inclusive in that sense, but two, understand that not everybody's going to be at that same pace, and it's fine. That's what makes us all great in our own way, especially in a group setting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you just really need to understand too. Are you actually teaching, or are you leading the best way in that aspect? So I know when it comes down to looking at the different models and looking at needs assessment, different things like that. You really need to hone in and make sure that you're visiting all aspects and how those people learn. So that could be whether it's in person or virtual, and it's really tough
Right.
to understand that, because you're not always going to reach everybody the way, but just being aware of that, I think, is the biggest step to do that.
Oh, most definitely. And do you feel like, do you think you lead, going back, I guess, segue a little bit back into leadership, do you think you lead people who learn like you easier, or do you find that more difficult because you're so similar that
it sometimes makes you butt heads like two rams?
That's a good question. I don't know,
Okay.
and probably because I've not done a good job in asking people 100% of the time how you like to learn, uh, and others that try to teach me the exact same way. I mean, of course, yeah. I think if I had somebody knowing myself and I tried to
Mhm.
lead myself the way that I like to be led, um, I probably would butt heads a little bit. Uh, but I may be have tunnel vision with that one person. I don't know. I've not really ran into that, but again, in the group setting at least, that's where it's a little bit difficult, that you've got to really expand on that. So if I've got that one person that likes to be led, or they learn the exact way I do, I've got to be really unbiased and making sure that I'm not tailored to that, because that's what I know and that's what I like. So
No doubt, no doubt. Before we really get going, I definitely sent you a clip about Seth Godin, and I don't know if you got an opportunity or chance to watch that, but in that clip he
yeah.
talks about where people need less mentors and more heroes. And I just wanted to get your opinion on that and what you thought about that. Do you think people need less mentors? Because, and I say that two-part, right, leading this up, this is kind of what drove this question. We know typically in most organizations, when someone's onboarding, we try and find you a mentor or someone to latch onto to make your process a little smoother. So a lot of organizations are moving towards creating some type of mentorship model. But I just want to know, in your opinion, hearing from someone who is what someone consider a marketing or leadership expert, Seth Godin, when he says that you actually need less mentors, you need more heroes. What do you think?
No, I thought about that a little bit, because I've not considered that myself, but after thinking about it, completely agree. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason is, again, talking about that tunnel vision, you kind of set yourself up for not necessarily failure, but I think you're missing opportunity, to grab the best qualities and actions of a lot of other people, that deserve not only deserve the credit whether you give it to them or not, but you're stuck with that one person, and that one person may be great at a lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but person that's working at the grocery store, they may have really great qualities, that you could still tailor your perfect qualities, and mingle those together. But if you're stuck on this one person, you're missing all these other opportunities out
Oh
there.
yeah.
Hell, you don't have to. It could be anybody. It could be somebody entry level all the way up to C-suite executive. Um, but again, everybody has really good qualities and really good work ethic and career paths and thought processes. And if you just stick with one person, you're just stuck with them, and then whatever you decide to create. So they talked about different people read articles, learn about their life, and I really think the best way is just have a true conversation with somebody. That's where you're gonna bring out their best qualities, and it may be good. It may be good things. It may not so great things, but you'll learn a lot, and then you'll bring something back from that, from their story. And I think that's where you need to really look, is all aspects. So I completely agree from that.
Oh yeah, and I don't know I'm kind of a book nerd. So one of the last books I read was Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game, and in that book he talks about having worthy rivals, which is something similar to like heroes, right? It's not
Right.
he looks at like you're not competing. You shouldn't be wanting to compete against everybody. Some people you just want to actually learn to emulate what they do because they do it really well. And I agree. I think if we had more heroes, because I know in my own life I have like heroes who write books that I've never met them, but I can read all their books. I've never met John Gordon, but I like reading all his books. So in essence, yeah, I would say he's a hero because I do like I want to one day be a writer similar to John Gordon, put out material that is easy to read, easy to digest, but it drives the point home at the end of the day, and no one lost or confused. You don't have to read 500 pages to get to the conclusion.
And I think the same goes not just for individuals, but I think you can have those mentors in companies too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
I use, while it may not be directly one individual, and it may drive from the top down, but take Southwest Airlines for example. It's always been a huge key part of my leadership, and especially with their leading with love philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not all of it I completely agree with, but there's definitely qualities in there like with Herb when he was acting. A lot of really good qualities that came from him that Southwest molded. And so I looked to Southwest as kind of as a whole in their leadership and kind of tailor things after reading books and listening to their podcast too.
And you know what? Here's what I find even amazing. Just like we're kind of kindred in this way, right? So first of all, Tyler, like I will only fly Southwest. Just FYI, just putting it out there. Only fly Southwest. But the second thing is the company that I've always role modeled was the Ritz-Carlton, right?
Okay.
Because after having several conversations with a lot of people, it's like the Ritz-Carlton realizes if you just need a bed, and it's all about your budget, they're probably not the best place for you, right? But if you want something more than that, if you want this like hotelier experience, and you're willing to pay for it, that's what they'll give you. And I kind of like that lead with love thing. It's like, it's okay to not be for everybody, right? Like in that sense, like my leadership style, it's not for everybody. Or, the clothes I wear or my style or my ambitions in life. Everybody's not going to jump on the bandwagon because it's just not meant for everybody. But the people who do support, I want to make sure I go above and beyond to thank them, to praise them, to give them all the shout outs, to, get them on the podcast like Tyler is right now. Like I want to go above and beyond because I think everyone deserves that Ritz-Carlton, that lead with love, Southwest experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I could go on and on about that, but I'll keep it brief and keep it moving. Next question is, what do you think is the best way to assess learning in either an academic or a corporate setting?
I think getting true feedback, and it's really, it's really tough sometimes because, especially during the pandemic, you get a lot of virtual items and a lot of surveys and a lot of Zoom meetings, and you really have to know again, what your people in either setting really think, and because you can do and you can process all kinds of initiatives, whether it be leadership, monetary, etc. But again, if it's not going to affect somebody in the most positive way, or maybe it's not going to be the best thing for a large variety of the population, then what's the point in doing it? So you really have to just understand the audience that you're casting to before you even try and set that precedent.
No doubt. I think you made a great point. Dr. McCart, my guy, I don't know, but Dr. McCart always says feedback is the breakfast of champions, right? We did the co-host in season 1. He always would mention that when guests would bring up feedback. And it's true, right? I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think some things that we have to really listen to as leaders, as learners, as students, as businessmen, as managers, as coaches. I mean, you have to listen. I mean, you brought that out in part of even your critical assessments of a leader. And I think it's true. Like if you're not listening to the feedback, how are you ever going to improve? How are you going to get better at whatever it is you want to do, whether it's your career, your marriage? You know what I mean? If you don't listen to your wife, I would imagine it's going to make it really hard to go home some nights. If you don't listen to, your daughter, it's going to be really hard to parent, right? Because like she will always feel like you don't listen. And I don't know how old your daughter is, but I have an 18-year-old and I get reminded all the time, Dad, you're just not listening to me. So if your daughter's not 18, just keep waiting. Just keep waiting, Tyler. Enjoy the days while they're little and small, because there's going to come a day where they're going to feel like you're out of touch and you never listen to them. Do you feel like there's any other ways aside from feedback that you would attribute to gauging learning happening in even in an academic setting? Did you think feedback was critical when you were a student at University of Louisville from your professors or other students?
Did I get any feedback?
Did you think it was critical?
No, not critical as in very important. Yes. And again, that's how you need to learn and grow. I mean, so I definitely think critical feedback. Again, if you're coachable and you're very understanding of feedback and willing to take that and learn from it and adjust what you need to, then I think that two-way street is going to be very smooth. The other thing, aside from the feedback piece, is really the follow up and the evaluation piece. So you initiate something, you think it's great. This is what the people wanted. You have to review. You can't just say this is the end all be all. So I think that's another key piece too, and why I think some initiatives like that or some learning cultures fail because the follow up or the evaluation process is not done, and they think that they've done it by just completing what the majority of the people have wanted.
You're 100% right. I agree with you 1,000%. I think if you're going to give feedback, you definitely do some follow up and definitely do an evaluation. Can't agree with you anymore. But let's get into the really good stuff, right? The real fun stuff. We've talked about leadership. We've talked about learning. We definitely are this month. We're highlighting student success. You're definitely an example of a student who has succeeded, coming from U of L, specifically in the OLL program. So the $1 million question that everybody wants me to ask is this: what drew Tyler to the University of Louisville?
So as I mentioned, my former manager Evan, he's the one that actually got me going. I had not finished my bachelor's, and I was trying to figure out really what I wanted to do. I was a couple years behind, not entirely, but a couple years, enough to make a pretty big difference. But spoke word of mouth about this program. Hey, I'm doing this. I just finished this. I didn't have to go back, but I did. Not only was it flexible, but also it was pretty cost effective. And I said, all right, I'm listening. Tell me more. And he's getting excited about it. As I mentioned, I'm getting excited about it because I'm feeding. And so he walked me through it a little bit. He's like, you gotta look into it. You gotta give him a call. So I did, and I remember talking to admissions, and just kind of like, is this too good to be true? Like I could save all this time. I could save all this money. They're like, no. So I was like, okay, put it on pause, and then still looked around to figure out what I wanted to do, and I was like, really, this whole cost effectiveness thing is really what kind of drew me back at first. Okay, I've got to ask again. So I probably asked for clarification like at least 2 or 3 times, and then finally decided. I was like, I'm gonna apply, and just went for it. So I think the biggest thing is word of mouth, and actually since then, even before I joined the advisory board or joined the alumni program, I've been doing the same thing. I've been hyping it up because it helped me so much, and it was great, and it was flexible. I got a lot of great coachable feedback from not peers but professors and people who are invested in me, and I really truly feel that it will do the same for others that really are looking for that next path. So now my cousin is in the program. He's I think he's got maybe a semester or 2 left, so he's super close to finishing. Super proud of him. And then I've had people from my former job, friends of friends, like, hey, I see you talk about this a lot. Like, is it really that great? No doubt. Like, don't my experience, but you've got to go talk to him.
Right.
And Susan's great about answering questions too, about that, and reaching out to whoever wants it, and talk about somebody who's got a lot of hype about the program too. She's awesome.
She's my hype man.
Yeah.
Or hype woman. My hype woman.
And yeah, so again, it's a lot of little things that drew me to U of L, but a lot of big things that worked on keeping me to stay and be so involved in this.
Yeah, that's great. So when you said saving time, was that related to our prior learning assessment or our PLA course, or was it just you just had some college credits here and there? You already had
credits, and again, it was just kind of like, okay, this is where I'm at. The prior learning assessment, for those who don't know, based on your experience, it could be licensure, military, anything like that. It potentially could be used to gain credit, eligible college credit. So again, you're saving time by not having to retake those courses, or some of those courses you may have already learned in life, but also save money on those courses too. So when I did that assessment, and again, going back to talking about how I knew my worth, and I felt worthy of this. I was awarded a college credit, and I calculated obviously because you got to know how much you saved, um, and I was able to cut uh, almost an entire year and a half off my time before, and quite a bit of funds too. And it's not going to be the same for everybody. Everybody's time frame in life is different. But again, the worst you can do is try. But I guarantee it will not be wasted time.
No doubt. I love that. So this ties into my next question. And I'll just ask it. I'll just put it on the screen and ask it, right? So can you paint the picture for everybody who's out here listening and thinking that they want to do this? Maybe I should, but do you know like the class or the assignment or the feeling or that moment when you knew I'm actually going to walk across the stage? I'm actually going to be a college graduate in, I don't know, a semester, a week, a day, a month. Can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah. So I had kind of 2 points in the program. One was right after I got the email or the letter awarding me the college credit. So I instantly jumped classes. It was like going from a sophomore to into my junior year, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. I was like, wow, you know what? Like, I'm actually going to do this. Like, I'm actually going to be able to be a college graduate way sooner than I anticipated. So that was that. I mean, that was awesome, and I can't even describe it because for me, it was a lot to go through to get to that point, and I felt like I was already behind as it is. But that was a pivotal moment, and then obviously, submitting your last assignment, and when they tell you like everything's good, I even asked my advisor at that time, Chelsea, who's also phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was like, hey, I probably double checked 2 or 3 times, but just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Am I good to go? All I got to do is do this. And she's like, yeah, guarantee it. As long as you do this in these last couple of classes, you're on track. And so then it kind of solidified it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Last assignment, an email awarding PLA credit. So let me ask you this last question. Then I want to get into your story real quick. Last question is this. If you could recruit you or the next you, how would you go about doing it?
Probably the same way I've been doing it for everybody else. I mean, really, it's just information and having that conversation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
really getting to know somebody and just saying, hey, what do you want to do? People, just that communication in general, because there's a lot of people out there that may not even know that they want to go back, may not even know that there's that opportunity to join the program.
Mm-hmm.
It has affected you positively. I mean, I think you should just talk about it. And it's not that I'm pushing it on anybody. I want you to do what's best for you, but again, it is not wasted time to just check into it. So again, it's word of mouth, really. I mean, the program speaks for itself. That's why I've had so many people around me see that. But two, I mean, I have family, I have friends that are invested in this program as well, and I think that speaks to it too.
I love it, man. So, Ty, we were talking before we went on air, man. You said you had this story. So, I'm anxious to hear it too. We're breaking, groundbreaking story, world premiere right here. Tyler Woods is giving us the story, and I'm interested. Ears are open. Everyone's listening. Tell us the story.
So when I was in my former career for former profession, I had a conversation with a consumer client, whatever you want to call it, making small talk, and he asked what I did or what I wanted to do, and I told him I didn't know. At that time, I had not even gone back and got my associates yet, and I was in a profession where you didn't have to necessarily have your degree. You could work through different paths and come out come out okay, but it would take some time, just like
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, even with your degree. Um, and I don't know if it was his boldness. I don't know if he just felt comfortable with asking me this directly. But he said, "How do you expect to get anywhere without your degree?" And I'm sitting there like baffled. I was like, "Who is this guy? What gives him the authority to tell me that?"
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it. And again, being in that profession, I tried to explain, what I do now and how I had opportunity along the lines, and eventually sent him on his way. But I was mad, man. Like I was frustrated, and I was like, I started to second guess myself, and I was like, well, am I really going to let this guy bother me? And I went home, still was bothering me. Told my wife, same thing. She said, just let it go. Wasn't he probably just was angry at something? And then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just comfortable. Maybe I'm just settling for mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a pivotal moment. That again, not that where I was at was the wrong time or the wrong place to be at. I think that I figured out in myself that it was time to invest in myself and not just focus so much on what I think could happen in that current setting. So I was really comfortable, and I think when you get comfortable, that sometimes is an issue, and that's when I sought out to go to get my associates. I started to go to U of L after finishing that, and so I've gone consecutively to school for the past 4 years. I mean, all year round. So spring, summer, winter to finish it out. And at first, it was like, yeah, I'm going to show that guy. I'm going to show him my degree, and then you know what? I'm going to go do something else. Not seeing him to this day, but in going to the U of L, that's when I figured out it wasn't for him; it was for me because I
Right.
understood my. And so I started kind of on that negative experience, doing it to prove it to somebody else. But in the process of being in the OLL program, I learned I was doing it for myself, and I learned that what I was doing mattered in the college setting. So I think that was really pivotal for me. Is just understanding this program really just helped me know my worth.
Man, that's amazing. Now, and again, that is a world premiere story. I don't know how many people know that story. I know I've not heard it, and now we'll definitely make sure that our OLL and Cardinal Nation understand and hear that story. We'll keep pushing it so that because I'm sure they're all in the same. Somebody's out there in that same boat. They're there. They're doing pretty good, but no one's ever challenged them in that way. And then they get the challenge, and obviously we have a program that can assist you
Right.
in that way. So before I let you go, Tyler, there's these. We have to do rapid fire. It's one of the greatest segments I've ever done in my life. Right? Everyone loves rapid fire, and this I think will be no different. You are the first alumni or alum to go through rapid fire. So let's see how you do with these 5 quick questions. Say the first thing that comes to your mind, and we'll go from there. So first question is this: if you could pick one word that would describe your life so far, what would it be and why?
Blessed for sure.
Ooh.
And I think a lot of people could speak to that. But everybody's gone through hard times just like me. But at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, and God will take care of us. And my life has truly been blessed, no matter what's gone on.
Good answer. You pass. Second question: what are 3 non-negotiable characteristics that anyone on your team or tribe has to have?
They've got to have integrity, compassion, and then also be kind. They're going to have kindness.
Integrity, compassion, and kindness. I like it. You pass. Question 3: what is your favorite dessert?
Ooh, that's a tough one. My wife probably knows this more than I do, but it'd have to be something lemon flavored, or it would be a moon pie. I love moon pie.
Okay. Lemon flavored or moon pie? Got it. Number 4. If you weren't in the healthcare industry, what would you be doing as a career?
It's also a good question. I guess that's one of life's greatest mysteries. I don't know. If I did that, then I guess I'd be somewhere else. I guess wherever God leads me. I didn't expect to be in the healthcare industry now, and I am, and that wasn't my plan. It's all a part of His plan. So we'll wait to see what comes next.
Okay. I can go with that. I can go with that. I love it. I love it. We'll put it in the hands of the one who controls everything. Last question. Now, this is kind of deep. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
If you could sit with your 13-year-old self, what would you tell him?
One, cut your hair. But two, I think it would really just let things go. And it's tough. Probably a lot of us. You're at that age where get frustrated a whole lot. You get mad a whole lot, and you're so focused on everybody else, and you quit being selfish. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yep, selfish. Think about others and put others before you. That's what I would tell them. Well, else I'd probably cut your hair too, but
Okay. So rapid fire is done, but I always end with one fun question. I think this is going to be a good one. I have stumped a lot of people on this one, so I'm not changing it for season 2, nor did I change it for season 1. But here it goes. Last fun question before we get out of here today. Tyler, if your life was the title of a book, made up or real, what would it be and why?
made up or real. I would say Tyler Wood. The story continues.
Ooh, I love it. And why is the story continuing?
Because there's always more things happening. There's more to come. I'm not even 30 yet. I got plenty of stuff to accomplish.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Tyler, you have been an awesome and amazing, outstanding guest today. If you had one thing to share with Cardinal Nation, right? One thing to put out, if you could be on the mountaintop and scream it throughout, what's left of 2021, maybe going into 2022, what would that message be?
It'll be okay. It'll be
Gotcha.
okay. We'll get through this, and again, your opportunity lies out there. You've got a good team, and you've got tools and resources around you, especially at U of L. You've got to want to invest in yourself and just make the phone call.
I'm with it. It'll be okay. I like it. Well, Tyler, I've taken up enough of your time today. The podcast, myself, everyone connected to the podcast. We're eternally grateful for you taking time out of your busy schedule and your busy life to make time for this. We appreciate you. We thank you for being an OLL, not only an ambassador, you're an OLL evangelist. You've taken this thing to the whole new level. Thank you for serving as on our advisory board and healthcare leadership. But most importantly, man, thank you just for being you. Thank you for being that fiery go-getter guy that we're all learning to draw on your wellspring to make this program and to make other adults who don't have a degree or other people who don't have a degree to make their experience in their lives worth it. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
OMG. We did it again. Another home run with another great guest. Tyler was phenomenal. Anyone who listens to this podcast is going to agree with that. And his golden nuggets of success were outstanding, to say the very least. 1, leaders, guess what? Try this, for example. Try being the hype man for your team. Try being the hype man for your group. You might be surprised at the outcome and the performance that your team actually does give you. And 2, when it comes to learning, how about try this? Know your people. Take your time. Get to know who they are and get to know how they learn. That's the best way. Listen, not everyone is going to have an all-star pay-it-forward boss like Tyler did. However, anyone, that includes you, can be a student at the University of Louisville and enrolled in the great OLL program, the Organizational Leadership and Learning Program. That's right, here at the amazing University of Louisville. Check us out. This is what I want you to do. Go onto your computer or your mobile device, go into the URL screen and type in uofl.me/podcast-OLL. Again, that's uofl.me/podcast-OLL. I know that today, during this podcast, we took your leadership and your learning to the next level immediately. So, because that's the case, this is what I need you to do. Go out there on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere you see us at, Instagram, Twitter, and I want you to download, like, and subscribe to the Cardinal Call podcast. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. And don't forget to leave us a comment. We love hearing just from you. You can catch us every Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as we say around here, you can count the seeds in an apple, but you cannot count the number of apples in a seed. Because when you teach, and you guessed it right,
Today, there was a lot of teaching going on. You never know just how many people you are influencing. So listen, Cardinal Nation, this is what I need you to do. I need you to 1, keep leading, 2, keep learning, and 3, keep influencing. I want you to join. If you're not a part of us, I want you to join Cardinal Nation. If you're one of the 1.3 million adults who have some college and no degree, I want you to do what? Check us out. Grab your mobile device, go into the URL tab, type in UofL.me/podcast-OLL. I want you to get as much information and sign up for an information session so that we can talk to you and tell you about this great program. But guess what? Listen, Cardinal Nation, and to all those others who are just listening to us, this is what I want you to do until next week. I want you to take care and stay safe.